Welcome back. Time for Media Watch. James Creedon's here, and let me reassure you, James and I get on extremely well, so there'll be no repeating the scenes that James is about to show you that Greek television viewers were treated to in their early morning breakfast talk show.
That's right.
What happened,
It was pretty
James?
lively, to say the least. Now, a guy by the name of Ilias Kassidiaris. He's a neo-Nazi, and there was he belongs to a neo-Nazi party that got almost 7% of the vote in the last elections.
This is the Golden Dawn Party.
That's it.
They'd call themselves far right, I'm sure, not neo-Nazi.
Right.
But maybe what you're saying is correct.
This is how they were described on the Time website in any case. But let's roll the pictures, because he got into an altercation with two left-wing female politicians, one by the name of Rina Duru. She's pictured on the top right there. She was reminding him of his criminal record. And he obviously didn't appreciate that, and there you go, she got a glass of water thrown in her face. On the top left, you've got a lady by the name of Liana Canelli, a communist. She tried to intervene and was promptly met with 3 smacks in the face. There you can see it. And I think the third was even close-fisted. It was an extremely violent moment.
It looks to me like a combination punch. Was his criminal record for violence by any chance?
It was for armed robbery. He's alleged to have committed armed robbery. In any case, he fled the studio and was promptly arrested later. So there you go. Not a very elegant moment in Greek political debating. But it's not the first time that sort of a scene is played out in television. But that is particularly bad because women were being slapped. I mean, but in Lebanon back in November, there was a scene that bore some similarity. Let's roll those pictures. I think you might remember them, Mark. This was Mustafa Alouche debating a guy called Fayez Sheker. And in any case, one was pro-Syrian, one was anti-Syrian. Name-calling started, and before you knew it, the presenter was being splashed with water and had to try to intervene to prevent the fracas from descending into complete mayhem.
The picking up of the chair is quite impressive, because those chairs, they're not light, so...
France 24 studios don't have chairs, so
we don't have debates that descend into that kind of thing. We tend to try and keep it sort of, just into slanging matches rather than fighting. But it's amazing how passionate people get and how they lose control.
And I suppose when people's hearts are in their politics, things can get out of control in that way. Ukraine, a more recent example, that was just at the end of last month, where the Ukrainian parliament descended into what can only be described as a brawl, with dozens of politicians getting involved. This was around the 24th, 25th of May. It was to do with the Russian language bill being put before Parliament to make Russia an official language in the eastern part of the country. Obviously a very emotive issue, and people just getting incredibly rowdy. And this scene I like, people up on the balcony looking on and applauding. I think we'll see it now in a second. People clearly amused by those scenes, although I'm not sure.
So that looks like the public gallery. They're kind of enjoying it.
They're sort of thinking
it's a throwback to Romans and amphitheatres. It's amazing stuff, isn't it? And elected people representing their part of the country. Right. He's got his shirt ripped open. He's showing his string vest off, and he looks in a heck of a state.
Guess what? Right, I was trying to find this scene earlier online, and I went on Google, and when you type in, let's take a look on the computer, Ukraine Parliament fight 20. I was looking for 2012. You've got 2010. You've got 2011. You've got 2008.
Maybe it's an annual thing.
It seems to be.
Yeah, maybe there'll be a rematch next year.
There might be. So I think they're biding their time for revenge.
It's a big issue, the Russian language versus the Ukrainian language.
That's right.
And clearly the whole political spectrum there's divided down the middle, with those loyal to Moscow and those who want to go towards the EU.
It's on that fault line. Ukraine is really on those.
But the point you make about the passion and the passion politicians feel, certainly the gentleman, and I use that term very loosely, that we saw in Greece. He's got a screw loose. I'm sorry, but he has got a screw loose, hasn't he?
He flipped. It looks like he really did flip, and he certainly didn't do his political ideas any service by behaving like that, because you're just discrediting yourself completely and absolutely.
His party have condemned him.
I'm not
They've
surprised.
condemned him. They've condemned. They said they can't condone what he's done, that kind of thing. But there you go. And
all right. Well, he's clearly he's a passionate guy. Now I'll just show you one picture before we go, Mark. This is on Twitter, right? Twitter rebranded themselves.
Okay.
Let's take a look on the computer there, because they decided to entirely change the bird from something with feathers on its head to something.
So which is the old one? Which is the new one? I can't tell.
On the left is old. On the right is new. I like Gawker's headline. Is Twitter's logo change the most revolutionary rebranding of the modern era? I think we can safely reply, no, it isn't, Gawker. It's definitely not. But there you can see. I don't know. I think they must have some conceptual staff, to spare, because clearly they have a lot of time to think about these things, to come up with not much of a change.
James Creedon with Media Watch. Complaints to James, not to me, of course. You can get him on Twitter, ironically. Okay. James, thank you very much indeed. James Creedon with Media Watch. Stay with us, short break, and after that, the latest news, sport, and we've got some culture for you. Watching live from Paris and France 24. James,